Right. So we need to first of all look at algorithms and flowcharts because before we are going to learn any programming language, we need to look at how we can solve practical problems. Now, in this section, we are going to look at how we can solve practical problems using programming. And for that, we need to learn how to build solutions, right? Now, create solutions, you need to learn how to build solution in a step-by-step manner because uh, we have to provide all the different steps to solve a particular problem, right? Now, problem solving, we have three parts. Always you have three parts. We first of all look at the problem, the inputs, then the outputs, what do you expect as the output, and to get in this from input to the output. So this is called process, right? So we have input, process, and output. Okay. Now let's look at some examples. Right. We have input. So first example, we are going to look at preparing fruit salad. Input will be a variety of fruits, right? And the output is a fruit salad. Now, how we are going to make the fruit salad? So that means you have to first wash fruits, cut them, then you have to mix it, right? So given input and output, we need to identify, okay, what are the steps? So that's we call process. Similarly, if you look at some mathematical problem, like let's say area of a rectangle, now we can have length and width. So that is input. To find the rectangle, we need these two steps. And then the output will be the area of a rectangle. Now, given length and width, how do you calculate the area? So basically, you have to multiply length with width. Right? You have to multiply length with width. So that's the process. Right. Now, solving a problem, right? So you have to, exactly know how you are going to do it. Like here are some activities. We have preparing a cup of tea, put on a school uniform, making a cake, prepare fruit salad. So all these, you need some sequence of, actions you have to take, right? So algorithm is we are preparing this. So if anybody asks what is an algorithm, so it's a method that includes all the steps of solving problem in order, right? So you can say algorithms give you all the necessary steps you to solve a problem in with an order. So order is important. Now let's say you are making a cake, you have a recipe, you have a sequence of preparation. What might happen if you mix the steps? If you change the steps, right? You won't get a cake, isn't it? Now, similarly, so this algorithm is very, very important. Now, when it comes to solve a problem, this part is the most difficult part, right? The coming up the algorithm. So when you have a problem and if you want to solve it, you should know, okay, what are the steps involved in solving the problem, isn't it? So which means that is the most difficult part, right? So we need the steps. Now, for example, now let's look at, creating a fruit salad. So you see the first step, you have to find various kinds of fruits. Then you have to wash them, right? Cut new fruits, and then you have to, put into a bowl and you mix whatever the ingredients you need, like sugar and salt, for example, and then you serve, right? So this is very, very important, right? The steps. Now, when you want to write algorithms, always remember you have a start and end, right? So that means except that we have the steps, you have to first say that the start and step. So we represent the start and end of an algorithm, right? So similarly, you can see here. So this is some steps for, making a cake. So you will see the first step is start, and then you have an end. So in between, you have a various sets of, operations, step-by-steps are given, right? Now, similarly, let's look at the very simple one, right? You start with the start. This is to find the area of a rectangle. So we will get the length, then we will get the width. Then you multiply length with width and get the area. And then you get the area of a rectangle. And finally, you put in. Right. Now let's do some, exercises. So in this particular case, we have to go for activity number 5.2. Suitable algorithm to find perimeter of a rectangle, right? How do you find the perimeter of the rectangle? Yes, let's start. So what is the input? Can you tell me the input? Input?
Get the length and the width of the rectangle.
Yes, you need to get the length and the width. Length and width, yes. What is the output? Yes, let me. Right, that is perimeter, right? Isn't it? We need perimeter. Perimeter of the rectangle, isn't it? So given length and width, how do you find the perimeter? Yes, equation. Can you give me the equation for that?
Length plus width multiplied by 2.
Exactly. Yes. So you can say 2 into, we can say length plus width. So these are the, steps. So now let's write the algorithm, right? So what are the steps? What is the step one? Step one,
Start.
it should be start, right? Remember this. It should be start. We have to say, okay, start. Step two,
Get the
Get
length.
the and width.
exactly. Yes, yes, true. We can say, okay, get the length of the Step 3. Yes, I will go back just to understand this. Yes.
Get the width of the rectangle.
We can say get the width, the rectangle. Step 4. Yes, we can say perimeter equals 2 into length plus width. Step 5. Not the get, we can say output. No? So we can say output perimeter. You don't have to get perimeter, right? Although in the previous step. So you can output the perimeter. Yes. Last one. It should be it. Okay. So it's always like this. Right. Okay. So I will give you one more exercise. Right. Give me the answer in the chat. Exercise. What are the steps? Steps for finding an area of a circle. Yes. Do you know how to find the area of a circle first? Right? Do you know how to find the area of a circle? Okay, have you done? Done? Yeah. So let's say what are the inputs? Okay, let's start with that one. Let's start with that. Yeah, what are the inputs? What are the inputs to find the area of a circle? Yes. What are the steps for finding an area of a circle? To find the algorithm, let's start with the input. What are the inputs you need to find an area of a circle? Yes. You need either radius or diameter, right? So let's say radius. What is the output? Yes,
Area.
area of a circle, exactly. Now, given radius, how do you find the area of a circle? Area is equal what? What is the equation? You learn this. I don't know whether you have learned this in mathematics. Yes. You don't know? Baranji, have you done in mathematics? Have you learned like how to find area of a circle?
No, it's only the perimeter of the circle.
Only perimeter. Okay, okay. Right. So maybe then I will give you. So what is the perimeter of a circle? What is the equation?
2πr.
Okay. So area will be 5r square, right? So 5, I will say 5 into radius into radius, right? So this is how. So, okay, I think I will give you this. Right? 5r square. So what is 5? Dhananjay? Have you learned that?
27, 22 upon 7.
Yeah, exactly. So I will put that one. Huh? So we will put 22. Yes. Right. Right. So this value is known as pi. Right. So the perimeter is 2 pi r, yes, and then the area is pi r square. So you will learn this, but anyway, now I have given you. Now, can you tell me the steps, the algorithm for finding an area of a circle? So let's start. What is the step? I will take a different color now. Okay, oh, yeah, that's maybe let me see. Right. So let's take this. What is the first step? We'll go step by step. Step 1. Yes.
Start.
Yeah, we have to say start. Okay, that's good. Step 2.
Get the radius of the circle.
Yeah, get the radius of the circle. Step 3. We can say area equals 22 divided by 7 into radius. Yeah, into radius. And then step 4.
Area of the circle.
Step 4. Output area. And finally, yes, last one.
And
Yes, exactly. So that will be end. So I hope now we have some understanding of, generating algorithms. You can develop now algorithms and we can just write. Right, now let's move on to the textbook again, right? Flowcharts. So now one way to represent is just write down like we did in previously, right? What we did previously is we write down each of the steps separately. But now since you are a beginners, it's always better to learn in graphically. So like in previous case, we just write in simple English. So this is sometimes known as pseudocode, right? It's a way of writing algorithms. The other way is use of graphical representation, which means the flowcharts. So we can represent the same thing, right? We can write the same thing using graphical representation. So we use different blocks, graphical symbols to indicate algorithms. Now, for example, start and end is represented using this symbol, right? And then within this symbol, we will write down start and end to represent start and end of an algorithm. Next, we have input and output. Now this parallelogram, we have used this block for input and output. Whenever you have a input and output, we should use this graphical symbol. Next, rectangle block always used to show a particular action or a process. Like when you want to find an area, we can say put into inside the rectangle block. Then diamond shape blocks we will learn later on, especially when you want to make decision, you might take different parts. So usually within this diamond shape block, you might ask like yes or no question, and depend on the answer, you are going to take different parts, right? Now, for example, okay, first number, is it greater than the second number? If it is a yes, you are going to do something. No, then you are going to do something else. Then all these arrows are used to connect each of these blocks together. And it will basically shows you the direction. Right. Okay. We'll go to, okay, 5.3. It says, okay, what is a flow chart? So we can say that a flow chart is a graphical representation of an algorithm. It uses different types of graphical symbols for various different, parts of an algorithm. We use different, flow chart symbols. Right. So we know that start and end, we will use different symbols, right? So we'll go back now. Let's look at flow charts. Now, if we start with the making a fruit salad, we will say start. And then we need to get various fruits. So it's an input. So we use this parallelogram shape. So in flow charts, we discuss how different parts of the algorithm are represented using different symbols, right? So let's look at the example of, making a fruit salad using these graphical symbols. Right, now let's start. So this is the start block and this is the shape we are going to use. And then getting various fruit, that's the input. So this is the representation of the input. Then there are various steps are there. So we have wash fruits well, so that's a process. Cutting fruits, that's another process. And putting the fruit pieces into bowl, another process. Add sugar and mix, another process. Finally, you will get the fruit salad. So that's the output. So that's why this symbol, right? Finally, you will have end. So if you look at the whole uh, the flow charts, it looks like this. Now things to know. So we have a start and end. So using the same graphical symbols. So input and output. So input is various fruits and the output is a fruit salad. So input is represented using these blocks. To get to input to the output, there are various processes. So these processes are represented using rectangle blocks. And the line, 4 line, shows you that it goes from start to the end. You see, everything is connected using lines, which means, okay, you start, then you get the various fruits, you connect to the input, and then you wash, then cut, then put into pieces in a bowl, and then you add sugar and mix, and finally serve the fruit salad, right? So all these steps are connected, which means in this particular flow chart, everything is connected sequentially, right? Now, similarly, let's say we want to find, okay, area of a rectangle, right? So similarly, we can draw a similar flow chart. You can say start, and then you have to get, inputs are length and width. So we have to get the length of the rectangle. You have to get the width of the rectangle. Please note the shapes we have used, right? So these are the shapes we need to use. And then, okay, process will be to find out the area. We know that you have to multiply rectangle, length of the rectangle with width of the rectangle. So simply we can say, instead of this, you can say, okay, area is equal to length and width. Right, then now next is the area, or you can output, or you can say here. And then finally, you will have the end, right? So I hope you got the basic idea, right? How you may, draw a flow charts. Let's do a couple of exercises to, put this into practice, right? So we need to flow charts for question 2 and 3 of activity 5.2. Question 2 and 3, right? 3 we have not done, but we'll go for this one. So we'll first draw a flow chart to find the perimeter of rectangle. So we are going to draw an algorithm to find the perimeter of a rectangle. We already found out the steps. Now let's use flow chart to draw this one. So the start is, we use this block to represent start. Then the step 2 is getting the length. Third one is also getting a width, which means another input. It means we have to have another input. Right, so we know that we have to get the width. Rectangle. And then step number 4, it's a process. So that means we have to have a rectangle shape we have to use. And we know that we can find the perimeter by multiplying uh, the addition of length and width by 2. So we can say 2 into length plus width. Okay. And the next one again, output the perimeter, or you can say display the perimeter. we can see, okay, output and a perimeter. And finally, we will have the end. We'll have the end. Right. Now we can connect using the flow lines. I told you like all the blocks should be connected using the flow line. So we have right, and then you can connect others as well. Like this, and finally like this. Now things to note here, we will use same shape of the blocks to represent start and end. Yes, and we are using the same shape for input and output, right? Parallelograms in this particular case for getting the length and width as well as output the perimeter. And we will have one single process here. The process is finding the perimeter. We know that it's 2 times uh, the sum of length and width. So the fourth step, right? So I think now, by now, you should, get the idea of how you may draw a flow chart.
Excuse me, sir.
Yep.
Sir, can we write as the get of the length of rectangle and the get the width of the rectangle as a one step?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You mean the input, right? Can you repeat the question again?
So can we write get the length of the rectangle and the get the width of the rectangle as get the length and width of the rectangle?
Yes, yes, it's possible. Yes. So in a single line, you can write, so get the length and width of the rectangle. Yes, it's possible. But in my case, why I have put in as 2 lines here, when you write the piece of code, you have to write 2 statements. So that's why the reason I have put them separately. But yes, as you said, of course, you can combine the two. Right. Okay. Okay, let me know whether you have finished.
Finish, sir.
Uh, let's move on to the next one, the second one. Now, the second one we discuss is to find an area of a circle. Right. Let me start with the steps, and then you are supposed to draw the flow chart and then send it to me. Right. So you draw and to WhatsApp, you may send it to me. So this is the second one. Can you draw the flow chart and send it to me for this one? All right. So one thing is you can connect these lines to each of the blocks, Dhananjay, because we expect you to connect the lines. Right. Try to connect it. Otherwise, things are clear. Yes. Thanks. About NetMe,